Parton here for Devil's Digest with Rambino, Devil's Digest publisher. So overall, NAU-ASU game has kind of been a struggle for ASU. How overall did they look against them, and did that kind of prove a point that they are going to be better going into the season? Or
I think it really did prove a point, because if you look at the average margin of victory over the last 4 meetings between the teams, it was only 20 points. And for them to come out and just lead at halftime 42-0, and really not let up a lot after that, I think it really says a lot about how far this team has come as far as its maturity. And I think to some extent they really did make a statement, because maybe a lot of people didn't expect them to go ahead and win by a large margin again because of history. But I think, yes, they did take care of business, but I still did made a statement at the same time on both sides of the ball.
As far as penalties go, from Coach Erickson's to Coach Graham's, that kind of changed dramatically. There wasn't as many. I can only maybe count 4, like on the top of my head. How do you think that is that a good sign for Graham's?
Yeah, absolutely, because I think regardless of the opponent, you want to go in and cut down your penalties. You want to show the discipline and the character that Coach Graham has been preaching ever since he got here in December. So again, you can go ahead and take for granted, like, okay, you did what you're supposed to do against NAU, whether it's scoring a lot of points, racking up a lot of yards, and having fewer penalties. But again, when you look at a team like ASU and their history in the last few years, even games against teams like NAU, they didn't score as many points, they didn't rack up as many yards, and they had more penalties probably than they should have. So I think, again, in that sense, this game against NAU, granted it's only the first game of the season, but you really feel that they have a good starting point to go ahead and continue on that path for the rest of the season.
And as far as the offense goes, they kind of came out with really coming in for the red zone offense. How do you think that went? Do you think they're going to keep on continuing with that?
Yeah, I think basically the 2-quarterback system did work. Something that they practice all the time, so it wasn't a big surprise to Eubank or Kelly as far as how many touches they did or did not get. And I feel that the offense is really clicking, whether it's Kelly or Eubank over there. So I know sometimes 2-quarterback systems are doomed to fail. Sometimes they don't work more than they do work, but I think that in this case, against NAU, and granted it's an inferior opponent, but to me, I really felt the offense was really clicking on all cylinders. Players like DJ Foster, Chris Coyle early in the first half, Richard Smith really made, I think, the quarterbacks' lives much easier anyway. But I would say so far the 2-quarterback system does work just fine. There are much tougher tests ahead, obviously. But again, you have to start from somewhere. And I think the starting point for ASU and offense as well is pretty high right now.
As far as the Illinois game, what do you think that both sides of the ball have to clean up going into Illinois?
Well, I think as far as turnovers go, I mean there were a couple turnovers on offense, so that's something that maybe you don't pay for when you play a team like NAU, but a team like Illinois that can cost you dearly. So again, we talk about D'Amato owning the ball. Not that ASU did poorly in that department, but they still have to do much better against Illinois. I think the defense, as long as it can keep aggressive and opportunistic like they were today, obviously they're going to see much higher caliber athletes next week. But as far as just continuing on that path, and maybe this game giving them confidence that they can go to play within the system and be successful, I think that's huge. And really, we talked about penalties earlier. If you can go and keep the penalties too many on both sides of the ball, you're always going to give yourself a chance to win regardless of the opponent.